Alright guys, welcome to the second ever episode of Archmage Does Some Stuff. Today we are going to be analyzing this track I made that sounds like Fox Stevenson's older styles. Two disclaimers. First, this is the unmixed version of the project file because I absolutely could not, for the life of me, get any version except for the unmixed version with no plugins on anything at all to load up without lagging, because the recording software I'm using uses a lot of CPU power. The other disclaimer is Fox Stevenson's songs are all very unique. He's got everything from hard dubstep to drum and bass to stuff like Deja Vu that you could arguably classify as lo-fi. So we're just going to be doing his Dancefloor Drum and Bass style tracks. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get to the first key element of drum and bass, the drums. So you want to start out with turning on the automation, but after that you want to start out with a big punchy kick like this one. There we go. So yeah, you want it to have some low end, a little bit of top end as well, and you want it to be pretty quick and punchy. Oh yeah, and I cut the first kick out, but when you add in the snare on every other beat, here's what the pattern should sound like. You want the snare to have a lot of top end to sound kind of like a clap. You add in some hi-hats, but you make the hi-hats pan around a little bit. This might be in mono, so you might not be able to tell. And also change in velocity. Like that. And then you also want to put a crash on every beat, which sounds like... And then when you put all that together, it sounds like... Alright, now the drums are only half of a drum and bass song. As you might have guessed from the name of the genre, you also want a bass. For this, I'm using this bass sound. Alright, now this is different in the final version. But like I said, I couldn't load up the final version because my laptop is absolutely terrible. Besides, this is not an advanced mix. Why is this set to high CPU? What happened with that? Anyway, so the bass that I'm currently using now is literally just a distorted sub layered with whatever this is. A distorted less of a sub. Still kind of a sine wave. Yeah, basically all of these macros are just different types of distortion. You EQ in a whole bunch of lows, add a tiny bit of chorusing for a little bit of extra width, and filter out the second oscillator because the first oscillator is the sub. Pretty simple bass patch altogether. To fill out the mids a little bit, I also added these chords. Alright, and then, of course, you can't really have a drum and bass without a lead sound. The MIDI here is from a cymatics pack. It had a bunch of notes stacked on top of each other, which leads to some really interesting pitch bendy stuff like... Oh, hang on. Alright, and then there was a second layer here, but it turns out that if you enabled that second layer, you would make the project file completely unplayable due to the insane amount of lag. So yeah. Also, I cut out everything except the lead for the very first part of the drop, so it sounds like... See, it still lags a bit, even with everything I didn't do. And then, of course, I've got some side chaining up here, pretty basic stuff. Alright, and then, in terms of effects, I've got this vocal ambience. Crowd noise, just to fill out the drop a little bit. In the final version, that's toned down a little bit. This impact, which in the final version is also toned down a bit. In the second half of the drop, we have these reverse effects to lead us into the bridge. I don't know what you'd really call it. Alright. And then for the second half of the drop, you take the same bass line. Basically the exact same drums. I think there might be a few things that are different here. Layer it with the same melody from before, but on a different, subtler instrument like this. In this case, it's a pluck, but it doesn't have to be. And then you layer it with some guitars, because Fox Stevenson is a really great guitarist. Oh yeah, and I actually ended up cutting these from the final version. So you've got this rhythm guitar. And these vocals from a stock cymatics pack that was free. It's the Euphoria Vocals sample pack. When I release this, it's not going to have these vocals in it because they've probably been used a bajillion times, and also because they're not that great. But I had to have some male vocals because that's, well, Fox Stevenson is a singer as well as a guitarist and a really great producer. Yeah, he's just based like that. I don't know, man. Anyway, and if you layer all of that together for the second half of the drop, along with a downlifter here, and the same effects from before, it sounds like... It sounds like lag issues. Great. Alright, build up. We've got the vocals, same vocals that we had in the chorus. And then we've got the same instruments as in the drop, but the pluck is also layered in there. We're filtering everything in. And we cut out the melody a little bit to make sure not everything is revealed before the drop. In the second half of the drop, bring in the drums. We have a pitch automation for the last quarter of the drop, and then we got this stuff down here. Now let me show you. So the build-up drums are pretty cool. I've got this kick going, layered with a snare. Alright, now this thing right here is composed of 3 parts. You've got this. Now this comes from a drum fill that I stretched like way up. Originally it sounded like... Well, it sounded like that after it was pitched up. But then... Oops, hang on. But then I stretched it out to 2 beats, and this part sounded like a hi-hat roll. So I decided to keep that, layered it with a laser, and layered it with the sound of a gun being loaded. And then I've also got the lasers in the drop, like in the last eighth of it. And then we've also got the drums being automated up in pitch for the last chord of the drop. Alright, and then if you put it all together with the bass, and then for the second drop, it's honestly kind of the same thing, except I changed the melody up. So the melody now sounds like... I just changed 2 notes from the original, changed a little bit of the rhythm, and one of the other notes. And it sounds like a completely different melody, so I just decided to roll with it. And for the second drop, that sounds like CPU issues. Alright, now I know what you're thinking. Archmage, this absolutely sucks. Now, that is a valid concern, but I bounced everything to stems, and I didn't do it in the Bounce to Stems Here project file, because I'm just like that. If you want me to break down my processing chains and stuff, I will not be doing that here. I might be doing it later. Did I bounce it to stems in the Bounce to Stems Here project file? Oh, no, this is the one where I bounced it to stems. Alright, so anyway, the final mix is much better. For one thing, I swapped out the bass for a bass with more top end. And added a sub bass. Changed up the chords to make them sound better and also sit back in the mix. Let's see, and this is what the second lead layer sounds like. So yeah, it's just kind of a subtle thing to add some mid-presence, whereas this is the main lead that you'll actually hear. Oh, and if you're wondering what this is the side chain from the build-up. I'm side chaining basically everything to the kick. Let's see. And I added a few more effects. For the intro, I added this ambience here. Let's see, added a little cinematic impact here. Oh wait, that's in the intro. Whatever, we can break down the intro too. Alright, so this was basically all cymatics stuff, since this is for a cymatics production contest. That little accent there came from cymatics. Cymatics percussion loop. A respace in the second half of the intro. Little lead guitar, also from cymatics. And the rhythm guitar, which is being slowly filtered in. And yes, that is the same rhythm guitar from the second half of the drop. Let's see, a little ambient vocal that also came from a cymatics thing. The stems from a cymatics melody loop right here. Alright, and when you put that all together, it sounds like... And when you put that all together with some effects, I mean, it sounds like... And the intro vocals as well. Oh yeah, and I forgot. The drop melody is teased with the pluck here. See how much better that sounds when it's actually mixed? Yeah. Oh yeah, and in this version, for the second half of the drop, I automated the cutoff on the bass down a bit, so it goes from 2. Alright, so then for the breakdown, it's basically the same as the intro, except I added some lo-fi drums. Then you basically heard all of this with the new melody. So then it goes... Got a sub drop here, along with downlifter. By the way, I use this downlifter, this reverse sample, not this cinematic impact. I only used that here. This reverse crash. Oh yeah, and I sidechained the effects. That's why they sound like that. This impact. And I think that's about it. I use those basically in every track. And that's something you can do with effects, because they're just supposed to blend into the background, and nobody's going to notice if they're identical in all of your songs. So basically, a lot of stuff from the intro. And then... and then it sweeps into this impact sound effect right here. That's one that I use in a lot of my songs, but it's more of a situational thing for like when you need to add a little bit more of an impact to something, but it needs to be tonal. Yeah, the name kind of implies that. Alright, so yeah, that's basically the song in its entirety. I wasn't going to break down the intro, but here we are, so... yeah. That's my latest song, Leave This Town. It's already out now on SoundCloud, link in the description. It's going to be out soon on YouTube and Spotify, so if you like the song, you can find it there in the coming weeks. And that's all for now. Alright, so... I just recorded the first half of this track breakdown, and I realized that there were some important things that I forgot. Number one important thing is like and subscribe. Do it, or I'll put reverb on your sub bass. The other thing is breaking down the sound design. Now, the sound design for almost everything here is really simple, and if it's not, most, if not all of these presets come from the Black Lotus Audio Dimensions Drum and Bass for Vital pack. This isn't a sponsorship, they just have a really great pack. So, go get it. Alright, this bass right here is fundamentally very low super saw, very low mono saw, and I believe this is being used as FMing. And then there's some compression and distortion. Tiny amount of reverb, but only in the very high end. And then, if you're using this preset specifically, you definitely don't want to have that macro up because it makes it sound completely different. Alright. This pluck right here is basically a lot of comb filters. Like, a lot of comb filters. Let's see. Originally, this was a saw wave, I think. Layered with a lower saw wave. Layered with another saw wave with a lot of warp on it. So yeah, basically, if you want to create something like this, plucky envelope, lots of delay and reverb, mess around with comb filters a whole bunch. Comb filters with key track. That's the key thing here. Alright, let's see. The chords might be one of the most complicated presets in here. Wait, no. No, this is actually... Alright, so this is one of the wave tables in the, that also comes with the Dimensions Drum and Bass pack. That's right, it's not just presets, it's wave tables, and you've got... Hang on. Alright, so yeah, this is the crazy complicated preset. Initially, I was actually just using supersaw chords, though, and it sounded almost as good. I just wanted something a little more unique sounding than supersaws, because everyone knows how to do supersaws. Not everyone knows how to do this. Alright, so the main lead is a saw wave, layered with a pulse layer that's basically whatever this originally was, plus a square wave. And then, of course, distortion, a tiny bit of flangering, and some delay to give it some width. Alright, and then this lead, the lead that was originally lagging the track, has these resynthesized wavetables. I don't know what goes into them, but I presume it involves some resynthesis. And then typical stuff, signfold, distortion, multiband compression, chorusing, delay, and reverb, as well as some filtering. Let's see, what else did I have? This respace is literally just a detuned supersaw. And oh yeah, this is the sub bass. Oh, and the air conditioning just kicked back on, so there's going to be white noise for the rest of this video. Sorry. Alright, so the other main thing is processing chains. I am not a genius at mixing and mastering, nor do I pretend to be. Most of what I did here comes from setting the faders to the right levels, and while the mix isn't perfect, it's pretty close, or at least as close as I can come. Most of my processing here, I'm going to scroll through it real quick. The main thing that has a ton of processing is the vocals. I'll go through my vocal processing chain in a different video, but most of what I'm doing is stereo width with the free plugin wider, OTTing, EQing out the lows, or adding some reverb, and that's basically it. Oh yeah, and I've got this parallel reverb and this low pass, this high pass filter for the build-up. But that's basically it. So yeah, that's how you make a track like Fox Stevenson's Dancefloor Drum and Bass style. Like I said, like and subscribe if you like the content. The song is currently out on SoundCloud, link in the description, and will be coming soon to YouTube and Spotify. Thank you guys for watching. This concludes the video, for real this time.